BBC News with Stuart McIntosh. Fox News has settled a defamation case brought against it by the voting machine company Dominion over its reporting of the 2020 US presidential election, just hours after the trial began. Dominion had alleged Fox knowingly spread false claims that the last election was rigged against Donald Trump. Michelle Fleury was at the courthouse.
It was billed by some as the defamation trial of the century. But at the 11th hour, both parties reached a settlement to avoid trial, which will see Rupert Murdoch's media empire pay out $787.5 million. Dominion had been seeking $1.6 billion and more in damages, arguing that lies broadcast by Fox News hosts and guests about the company involving the 2020 US election had damaged its reputation. The voting technology company did not get an apology today, but a lawyer for Dominion said money is accountability, and we got that.
Washington has announced more charges against people running Russian influence campaigns in the United States. One group targeted includes 4 Americans in Florida and 3 Russian intelligence officers. The Russians are said to have recruited US citizens to act as illegal agents and to have covertly funded candidates for local office. The United Nations has formally expressed its concern to the United States over allegations revealed in the Pentagon Papers that US officials spied on the UN Secretary-General's conversations. A report in the Washington Post citing the leaked documents had alleged that at least 4 of Mr. Guterres' conversations with other UN officials were intercepted. His spokesman, Stéphane Dujarric, said Washington's actions were not acceptable.
We have now officially expressed to the host country our concern. We have made it clear that such actions are inconsistent with the obligations of the United States as enumerated in the Charter of the United Nations and the Convention on the Privileges and Immunities of the United Nations.
A white man accused of shooting and injuring a black teenager who accidentally rang the wrong doorbell in the US state of Missouri has handed himself in to the police. Andrew Lester, who's 84, had been released on bail. Mr. Lester shot 16-year-old Ralph Yarl in the head and arm through the door. Here's Nomia Iqbal.
Ralph Yarl, who teachers describe as a musical prodigy, is now recovering at home. Andrew Lester, the man accused of shooting him, is also at home, despite having been charged with first-degree assault and armed criminal action. The 84-year-old told police he was scared of the boy's height, but the family say it was the colour of Ralph Yarl's skin that made him reach for the gun. However, race isn't part of the charge. Police say no words were exchanged between the pair before the shooting, so it's hard to determine the motive.
You're listening to the latest world news, coming to you from the BBC. Poland says it's reached a deal with Kiev on allowing the transit of Ukrainian grain to other countries. It banned Ukrainian imports and their transit over the weekend, saying cheap produce from Ukraine was having a negative impact on local farmers. Ministers say that under the deal, the transport will happen in sealed trains monitored by GPS systems. Heavy gunfire and the roar of warplanes have shattered a planned ceasefire in the Sudanese capital Khartoum shortly after it was declared by 2 rival military leaders who've been fighting for 4 days. A spokesman for the UN Secretary-General said there was no sign of any halt in the hostilities. Our senior Africa correspondent is Anne Soy.
People in Sudan were hoping for a quiet night. A 24-hour ceasefire was agreed earlier by the warring sides, but it wasn't to be. Sounds of gunfire and explosions could still be heard across the capital. The extent of the clashes is unclear. Many civilians remain trapped in their homes. Lives have been disrupted and families are worried they'll soon run out of food, water and other essential supplies if they haven't already.
Nicaragua has barred the European Union's ambassador-designate from taking his post in the bloc's criticism on the authoritarian government of Daniel Ortega. The foreign minister cited what he called the EU's interventionist and insolent comments. Brussels had said the people of Nicaragua were facing systematic repression following the mass anti-government protests of 2018. The first complete Tyrannosaurus rex skeleton sold in Europe has gone for more than $5 million at an auction in Switzerland. The giant carnivore was already in a private collection. Nicknamed Trinity, it's made up of the bones of 3 different dinosaurs found more than 10 years ago in the United States. The fossils are thought to be around 67 million years old. BBC News.